Hey guys, welcome to Thrive Bites, the official podcast of Dr. Colin Zhu, aka the Chef Doc. On every episode, I talk with health and wellness experts from all over the world, such as doctors, chefs, dietitians, coaches, and many more. And I sit down with them and have casual conversations about plant-based lifestyle, how to elevate our emotional resilience, and what it really means to thrive. And I bring all of this to you. So let's get to this week's episode. Okay, guys. Well, thank you for joining in. This is Thrive Bites. I'm your host, Colin Zhu, and we have a very special guest for you guys today, and I'm super excited to have him here. He's a longtime friend of mine and a fellow colleague. This is Dr. Robert Graham. Say hi.
Say hi. It's Rob Graham.
Thanks, Rob. I really appreciate you coming in. And for the audience members, you and I, we go way back, probably before. I think it had all started around Natural Gourmet Institute. For the audience members who do not know who he is, Dr. Graham has many, many accolades. He is an MD, chef MD. And he's completed 3 fellowships, has spoken at so many different conferences, including TEDx. And he has a lot of great experience into the culinary and lifestyle world. So we're going to have a really good discussion. And again, I thank you, Rob, for joining in today.
Oh, Colin, I think we first met in probably like 2012 or 13, in the kitchen when I was bringing my residents at that time into the kitchen to teach them the principles of a whole food plant-based diet, as well as lifestyle medicine and culinary medicine, which I'm so proud to be a colleague of yours in.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I actually remember that day very well. When one of our mutual chef instructors and good friend, Rich La Morita, pretty much invited us in to kind of just really take a public cooking class and taking it to a new level. And I was really glad that you brought in your residents at the time who are now full-fledged attendings or full-time doctors for the audience members. And so I want to start by tell us a little bit about how did you get to this point? Because obviously, Western medicine, conventional medicine, we kind of have really a paucity of nutrition, right? We didn't really learn that much in school. And I know you've gone through a very, very unique path. You went into integrative, you got your MPH, your master's in public health. And how did you end up through this journey and then ultimately going through food?
Yeah, so it's I think it's a great story, and I think I was born into it, really. And thanks so much for shouting out my TEDx talk. It was called Going Back to Our Roots. And it was, I believe, in 2015 when I had that, great honor of presenting really my personal story and how I got to where I am in this wacky field called Integrative Medicine. Just by way of background, if I can, Colin, my mom, similar to your mother, is a kind of traditional healer. Obviously not formally trained, but from Latin America and growing up in a very multicultural, multi-ethnic neighborhood of Jackson Heights, New York City. I was born into this kind of home where my father is also a biochemist. So my father would prescribe or recommend, the traditional medical conventional approach of treating whatever it may be. Let's just say belly pain. And my mom, obviously the primary caregiver, would take care of us in a very holistic, herbal, food-first approach, similar to what many people do in traditional cultures and health belief systems. And my father, obviously being not a physician, but a conventional scientist, really never learned about it or was exposed to it, similar to us in medical school. And that kind of dichotomy or that kind of integration of care that was happening in my house, in my neighborhood, kind of formulated these early experiences of health and healing. as an undergrad, I did my undergrad at Queens College in medical anthropology while doing pre-med. And there I really started seeing that, all these ancient traditions and cultures had their own way of dealing with illness. And it really wasn't a medicine first approach. It was really a food first approach. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of early experiences formulated this idea of, what about if we would integrate both conventional medicine and food and other forms of healing, which are traditionally called as complementary therapies, acupuncture, Chinese medicine, chiropractic massage. And I'm going way back. I'm going back to like late 90s and early 2000s. And I was blessed to be admitted to medical school at Stony Brook Medical School, where I started one of the very first electives in complementary alternative medicine. That led to me doing a residency in internal medicine. And again, not seeing this being taught in medical school or in residency. And in 2002, as the universe kind of brings you things, at that point, there were only two spots in the country that had a formal integrative medicine fellowship. Mm-hmm. And two of them were at Andrew Weil's program, one of the fathers of integrative and complementary alternative medicine. And then the very first ever fellowship in integrative medicine at Harvard Medical School. And obviously there's 4 spots, Colin, so I applied to all of them.
Grab bag, just like throw a big net over.
Yeah, and let's see who calls. And, I was blessed again to be accepted to Harvard Medical School at the beginning of this emerging field of integrative medicine, learning the science and research and education of it, while obtaining a master's in public health from the Harvard School of Public Health, where my concentration was in clinical nutrition. And one of my mentors was the great Walter Willett, probably the most cited academic professor of both medicine and nutrition, and has really formulated the field of nutrition. And so, again, being at the forefront of this movement of integrative medicine and focusing on nutrition, and as a fellow, my focus in one of my research projects was helping my other mentor, David Einsberg, who did a lot of research in integrative medicine, start the Healthy Kitchens, Healthy Life, Healthy Life, Healthy Kitchen initiative out in Napa Valley. And that kind of made me think about, wow, there is a way we can do this. So again, I'm really proud to be doing this integration of food and medicines really since 2004. So like they say, an overnight success, 20 years in the making.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for that snapshot. So basically, Walter Willett is very prominent in the research of nutritional research, and I know David Eisenberg. He's also a pioneer, and I've also attended that conference that you mentioned as well. And for those of you who are hearing in and don't know about it, Healthy Kitchens, Healthy Lives is pretty much a marriage of medicine and the culinary arts, and they paired up with the Culinary Institute of America to be able to kind of integrate the two. And it's actually a fabulous conference where pretty much all the audience members really consist of physicians, dietitians, nurses, everyone in the healthcare field wanting to really push to and wellness forward. So I think it's a great conference to kind of look up as well. Just to kind of add to your point about the integrative medicine, in terms of your patients, over the years, where do you feel that it actually benefited patients the most? Whereas, Western or conventional medicine, you couldn't really give you the answer at the time. Was it something that a patient will become stuck in? You find like your treatment protocols wasn't really getting anywhere, so you had to utilize it. Like, how did you, quote unquote, integrate it into an example of a patient's care?
Yeah, it's a great question. And a lot of the stuff that I do, and I just want to also, for the audience members that are not familiar with the word integrative medicine, really, integrative medicine is the integration of both conventional medicine and all other complementary therapies. Think about it, from acupuncture, biofeedback, chiropractic massage, nutrition, prayer, exercise. This is where lifestyle medicine comes into play, for where there is an evidence base for its utility. So oftentimes we hear a lot of people who don't understand the meaning of integrative medicine or complementary alternative medicine. And it really is, as you know, Colin, it is an evidence-based approach. So when people start saying to me, well, where's the evidence? In its definition, it is integrative evidence-based medicine. And that's what I really important, I think, definition, because this is not voodoo, this is not alternative, and everything we do in integrative medicine is evidence-based. And I think, I'm really fortunate, to have never really practiced conventional primary internal family medicine, right? Because right out of my internal medicine residency, I went right into the Harvard Medical School Integrative Medicine Fellowship. And at Harvard, in Boston, a place called the Marino Center, one of the real first centers offering integrative medicine. So immediately during my training, I was put into this model of care where all forms of healing were incorporated, where there was an evidence base for its utility. Now, back in 2002, I think this is kind of important, and I'm sorry I'm regressing a little bit, Colin.
No, you're good. You're good.
To giving a little bit of background is really important, because to really appreciate the, the growth of the field. So in 2002, again, one of my friends and mentors, Andrew Weil, said a famous quote, and I'm just going to read it to you guys. Patients are increasingly frustrated with what they perceive as a limited set of options provided by allopathic medicine. Allopathic medicine is conventional medicine, which basically amounts to prescription drugs and surgery, and want more choices for wellness and healing than allopathic medicine can provide. And so that was back in 2002. And subsequent research has shown that the majority of people, 55 to 65% of people, want an integrative approach to their healthcare. But unfortunately, as you know, and as many of the audience members know, is that is simply still hasn't been adopted as the prevalent dogma or medical care that we have in our society today. So we're offering care to people who want more choices but can't find it. And I think that's partly responsible, Colin, in the how medicine is done today. And this gets back to something that we've shared a lot of conversations about. It's not so much the type of medicine, it's the how the medicine is done, in a volume-based way. It's not value-based. And I know there's a lot of discussions that medicine is going to transition into a value-based, where value is based upon health outcomes. But in today's current market, and as you know as a practicing physician too, is that the more people we see, the more money we make. Not so much us, but the health systems that we work for. So it's driven by volume. It's not driven by value of care. And I think people are getting sick and tired of just getting these, 8-minute visits with their doctors, getting a prescription, and not looking for a more holistic approach. I think what we're trying to do, and I call ourselves food fighters in this movement, is that we're trying to change that paradigm.
Yeah, definitely. And then I totally agree. I think, to add to your point about that statistic, I think the last time I looked it up, for every 2 out of 3 patients that actually come, they've already sought for some form of complementary / alternative treatment, and I think that, so much about food, we need to learn so much about food, but also about all these other, integrative and complementary modalities as well, because we need to have at least a basic understanding of, not just about each individual modality, but why, they're pursuing it, why, they are going from doctor to doctor. And, for them, their perception is that they've been being failed, it just fails them, And so, I think at the heart of every physician, from their oath and, from their moral integrity is, at the end of the day, we want to be able to help them. We want to be able to heal them. We want to be able to assist them in any way, shape, or form, at least for the very minimal do no harm. But I think, between you and me, Rob, we're the type of people that really, really want them to go beyond that, to really thrive, so to speak. So. Hey guys, we're going to be taking a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Thrive Bites. Let's get back to the interview.
Yeah, exactly. And again, back 2006 when I was at Harvard, there was a study, and again, epidemiological study. I think Walter Willett's group or Frank Hughes' groups, one of those major researchers, that really kind of informed what I do, and I think you as well, is that we've learned that 80% of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes, and 70% of cancer can be prevented. Again, can be prevented by not smoking, exercising, managing stress, and eating a healthy diet. And again, if we would just change the discussion on to prevention instead of disease management, I think we would just be so much further in terms of overall health of our society and in global health, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to add to your point, Walter Willett and a bunch of others, internationally really recognized, scientists and researchers, they actually formed a EAT forum commission, mainly really researching, the best, diet for sustainability, because, right now we're, for those of you who don't know, we're really at a brink. We're at a breaking point where, not just our own country and, the economic costs, is pretty much crippling our economy, but we're at a point where, physically, because of climate change and all this other stuff, diet has a, huge correlation and contribution to how our environment is going to be sustained for years and years to come. And so it's a very, to me, it's a very scary, kind of a dilemma that we're facing. And so I'm glad that prominent people like Walter Willett and others are, able to kind of be on the frontier, the front lines to be able to, get it going. Rob, I want to ask you a question. So for the people that come up to you through your practice, I know you practice in New York right now. Where do you feel is the common threads of people when they're going through their day-to-day lives? What do you think is missing from most people's lives right now that really constitutes, from your perception, true and authentic, genuine health?
A couple of things. I think that's always a good question. You always ask these tough questions because they're really kind of macro. You're really looking at the macro, right? I think number one, connections. I think it starts with yourself. The importance of honoring yourself, loving yourself, self-care, self-awareness. And I've always said that self-care is the best form of healthcare. And I think this is really where connecting with others is really important. And, I think one of the biggest things that we're not talking about is the role of social connections and the opposite of loneliness and isolation. And just going back to the food part, because it's so important, you often hear this term called food is medicine. And I disagree with it. I think food is food and medicine is medicine, because if you think about food maybe as medicine, it's much more beautiful, right? Because think about how you eat food. You typically eat it with others around a table, and you share and you laugh. And think about how you take medicine. You usually take medicine in the morning in the bathroom by yourself, one pill at a time, right? Never sharing it. And I think labeling food is medicine, I think, takes away from the beauty of both. I think because medicine is very powerful, food is very powerful. But calling it medicine, I think, it diminishes the, beautiful nature of that social connectiveness that food and eating together really brings. So to your first point, connections. The other thing is, I think people don't know who they are. And I think being authentic and listening to your true self, as they say back in the hood, keep it real. And I think we have to keep it real with ourselves first. Lessons that we learn in childhood. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't hide. I think those things that are, and just be real. And I think, with social media, I think it's such an amazing platform, but there's very few people on social media that show vulnerability and their true daily life and existences. It's often, the beautiful plate of food that they're about to eat, usually with friends. And I think the people that social media kind of has portrayed itself as all is great. And unfortunately, what you're seeing in today's society, the rates of depression, isolation have skyrocketed. So again, keep it real, connect with others and yourself, keep it real. And I think the last part that I really want to focus on, and this is really my wife, and Julie is my wife. We've been together for many years, 19 years, together for 23.
She's
And,
awesome.
and she's trained in positive psychology, which, as you know, in your title of your book, it's factors looking at factors that make people and communities thrive. And one of her things that she's taught me is that just being neutral is not okay. Being north of neutral is a goal. Being north of neutral is thriving. And I think that leads back to my last point I want to make is that the Okinawans, the people that one of the blue zones, right? And if you want to dive into that too, Colin, we can dive into that. But the blue zones, Okinawans, people from Japan, have this thing called the ikigai. It's sense of purpose. What gets you up in the morning? And they say that it's rare for someone to find a single ikigai, let alone 2 or 3. And I think that sense of purpose is missing in many people's lives. They're bogged down by their job, by their life, by their finances, and really don't look within themselves to find that meaning and purpose of life, or that pursuit of happiness. And so, to answer your question, I think those are kind of the 3 things that people are missing most in their lives today.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I totally agree with you. I mean, the first point, especially connection and, being around a certain tribe or a certain family. I think, when we're giving these presentations about, food as medicine, so to speak, which is a great, different way of looking at it. And I thank you for that, is that, so much back in the day, everything is gathered around the dinner table. It doesn't matter what color of your skin. It doesn't matter what religion you believe in. It doesn't matter what part of the world. There's always some form of people coming to the table and having that social connection. And I think that's very powerful. With the advent of internet and social media, it seems like we're just more disengaged and disconnected. And that might have contributed to increasing rates of depression and suicide. I would argue to definitely to say to that as well. And to your last point, it's really about that sense of purpose. And when you have a sense of purpose, there's a sense of reason for being and reason for living, which is also adding to that phrase ikigai. So. Yeah. Do you have any last point? I want to talk about your practice, Fresh. Tell the audience, about where you practice. What do you have going on? I know you're a very busy man, but where can people find you?
Yeah. So they can find me in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, on the road, on the farm, in the kitchen. It depends on where I am on any particular day. The last point that you asked me, that kind of I don't want to rush over, but I also want to. It leads to where I practice and how I practice. So a couple of tips, and this is going back to your point, Colin. And so I firmly believe that healthcare needs a fresh start. And what I mean by that is that my wife and I have developed a model of care, an integrative medical practice, which focuses on what we call the 5 ingredients to health or well-being. It is an acronym for our name, Fresh Medicine. FRESH, food, relaxation, exercise, sleep, and happiness. And when it comes to health, we always say we give you the 5 ingredients, these 5 prescriptions. For food, eat more plants. Relaxation, meditate 10 minutes a day. Exercise 30 minutes a day. Sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. And for happiness, other people matter. Surround yourself with people who love you, honor you, respect you. Your tribe matters, just like you said, Colin. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to experience this kind of integrative lifestyle, functional medicine, culinary medicine approach to healthcare, follow us on FreshMed NYC on Instagram, on our socials, www.freshmednyc.com, in Brooklyn, New York, and hopefully expanding all over the city very shortly, which we haven't spoken about, Colin. And I just want to, there's a couple other things that I'm really interested and excited about. I'm actually doing a couple of culinary immersions and retreats, one with our combined chef mentor, Chef La Marita, next weekend on Ayurvedic. I'm doing a dining with the doc and chef at the Boulay Test Kitchen, which I'm so freaking excited about. And the last thing I'm really excited about is that the farm to table movement has reached, I think, a brink. And what I'm going to be doing in early June at Glenwood Farms is bringing a table to a farm and doing a culinary workshop talking about planetary health, climate change, and the impact of regional farming on our overall health on a farm here in New York City. So where can you find me? Everywhere.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you again. We'll definitely put up those dates. I'm going to put up for the audience members, we're going to put up his social media links so you can find him at Fresh NYC. Rob, thank you. Yes, Fresh Med NYC. My apologies. Rob, thank you, brother. I really appreciate you coming on board. I feel like you and I can really just talk forever. Maybe we can do a part 2 to this later down the road, but definitely know that you're a busy man, and we got a lot of great stuff going to really pushing the health and wellness envelope forward. So thank you for all you do. Thank you to your team and your wife, and thanks for coming by.
Colin, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Hey, thanks, man. This is another episode of Thrive Bites, and you can catch us here weekly, and stay tuned, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey guys, that was another episode of Thrive Bites. If you like that episode, please subscribe and follow weekly for new episodes. And don't forget to rate us on Apple Podcasts.